Sup guys, I'm back and during this quarantine period, I haven't had a lot to do, I haven't, had a lot of stuff to do, I've been very bored lately. So I'm rewatching all the Godzilla movies and I'm going to put out a review for every single one, all 36 of them. So yeah, today we're starting off with the very first Godzilla movie that came out, Godzilla, 1954. And I'm going to be reviewing the Japanese version, not the American version with Raymond Burr, because I think the Japanese version is a little bit better. Though the American one, that's good, but the Japanese version is just a whole lot better. So yeah, if you haven't seen this one and you're a Godzilla fan, my God, what is wrong with you? But yeah, you need to see this movie if you're a Godzilla fan. You need to see this one. So yeah, this is going to be a spoiler review. Mind you, all the movies I'm going to be reviewing are all spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, now's the time to click off this video. Now's the time to get off this video. So yeah, today, like I said, we're going to be reviewing the original Godzilla movie. So at the start of this movie, there's a boat, and all of a sudden there's a blinding flash of light, and all of a sudden it goes down. But they send a distress signal out, to the mainland, to Japan, and then we get to meet the two main protagonists of this film, Ogata and Emiko. Ogata gets called into work because of all these ship sinkings, and what they decide to do is they decide to send another boat out there to see, if there's any survivors. And what happens to that boat? It goes down in the same manner the first one did. So you can imagine the panic in the families of the people that were on the boat. So, they're wondering, are they okay? Are they all right? So what they do is they send a third boat out there, to see if there's any survivors, and they find three survivors. So what they do, they might ask them, what happened, one of the guys says, there was a huge blinding flashlight and there was a huge explosion, and they're all running like, really? Did that happen? So then it takes us to Odo Island, which is an island very close to where all these accidents have been happening. So there's a watchtower up there, and they see a raft floating out there, and it's coming towards Odo Island. So they send three people out there to go get the raft and bring it in, and the guy's unconscious. There's only one person on the raft, and he's unconscious. So they ask him questions. They wake him up, and he's like, what happened? What happened? Our boat just sunk. Then he went back unconscious again. So then the next scene is where a lot of the fishing boats, the small fishing boats, are coming in, and their nets are empty. Their nets are completely empty. There's no fish, and they're wondering why. And this old man's like, it's Godzilla. Godzilla on that island is a myth. There's a legend on that island about this monster, and during the ceremony they tell a story about it. They tell what they used to do, and they say that they used to send out a young girl on a raft, out to sea to be a sacrifice for Godzilla. But later in that night, a typhoon comes, and there's three people in this house, and there's two brothers in that house, and then I think one of them, there's a girl in that house. I think she's one of their girlfriends, and one of the guys goes outside to check on what's going on, and the brother that's inside try to run after him, and then all of a sudden there's a huge flash of light, and all of a sudden their house comes down. So yeah, and it looks like, and what they do next is that they bring the people, some of the people from Odo Island to Japan to ask them, what happened, what's going on. So what they're saying is that this was all done by a living creature. So the professor, Dr. Yamane, a paleontologist, he says, we're gonna form a team, and we're gonna bring it to Odo Island to assess the damage. So they're looking at these giant footprints. They see these giant footprints, and they're highly radioactive. They're highly radioactive. And Dr. Yamane finds an extinct creature, a trilobite, in one of the footprints. Then all of a sudden, the bell rings. There's a bell that's ringing, and warning them that Godzilla is coming. So they run up the side of a mountain, and Godzilla's on the other side of the mountain, and he appears, and we get our first glimpse at Godzilla. But then, he dips back down under the mountain, and he walks back out to sea. We don't see him walk back out to sea, but you see his footprints. You see his footprints. So Dr. Yamane holds a conference, and telling everyone that this creature was made by atomic testing. This creature was awakened by atomic testing. Then all of a sudden, there's this huge argument, in the courtroom, and one group is saying we shouldn't make this public. We shouldn't make this public. It would cause a nationwide panic. It would cause a panic around the world. Then another group's like, that's why we need to tell everybody. We need to tell everybody so the truth comes out, so everyone's prepared for this. Then there's a huge argument, huge dispute, and then the scene cuts away. So the next scene is that they're trying to pinpoint Godzilla's location, under the water, because that's where he lives. So what they're doing is they're firing depth charges they're placing depth charges down under the water, and they're going off, and everyone's thinking Godzilla's dead, and this is being televised. But Dr. Yamane looks a little upset because this is a rare species, and he wants to study it, not kill it. So yeah, you can understand that he's upset. But then there's a citywide celebration. Everyone's celebrating because everyone thought that Godzilla's dead. And there's a ferry, out in the bay, celebrating, hey, Godzilla's dead. But what comes out of the bay? Godzilla. But it's short-lived. He goes back down, but as you can see, everyone's in panic again. So the next scene is, a case of the love triangle between three people. Dr. Serizawa, Emiko, and Ogata. Dr. Serizawa, we're about to talk about in a minute, but he's a scientist. And mind you, I forgot to say this, but Emiko is the daughter of Dr. Yamane, the paleontologist. Emiko and Ogata are in a relationship. And Emiko and Dr. Serizawa were planned to be married like a long, long time ago. But Emiko has fallen in love with Ogata. A reporter comes in and he's like, I've been trying to interview Dr. Serizawa about his recent projects, and he's not, he's politely refusing. And then Ogata's like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to meet Dr. Serizawa. And Emiko's like, no, I want to take care of this. So in the interview, Dr. Serizawa is not revealing a lot of information. He's not revealing anything. So when the reporter leaves, Emiko's planning on telling Dr. Serizawa what happened. But actually she asked, what are you inventing? He's like, I'll show you. Come downstairs. So he shows her his lab, and there's a tank. There's a fish tank in there. Then all of a sudden, Dr. Serizawa drops a small substance into the water, a small little ball into the water, and all of a sudden, it cuts away. Well, it actually doesn't cut away. You don't see what happens in the tank. But you see Emiko's reaction, her reaction, and she's like, she's horrified. And Dr. Serizawa was like, please, keep a secret, do not tell anyone. So when Emiko goes back home, and she looks a little, funny. She looks, scared. She looks horrified, and she's like, it's nothing. So then all of a sudden, when she gets home, all of a sudden, boom. Boom. They hear footsteps, and there's a siren that's going off, and that means Godzilla's coming ashore. But as they're leaving, Emiko, tells Ogata, I'm sorry, I didn't tell Serizawa about us. So what happens is, they're firing guns at him, a lot of conventional weapons, and they're not working at all. And one of the most famous scenes ever happens. Godzilla, picks up a train in his mouth and just throws it to the ground, which is one of the most iconic scenes. There's actually a figure out there. There's a couple figures out there of him biting a train car. So what happens is that, Godzilla leaves, but they know he's going to come back. So what they do is they surround Tokyo with electrical towers, and they're going to send 50,000 volts of electricity into Godzilla. So the next, that night, Godzilla appears in Tokyo Bay. And electricity, isn't working. It's not working. Godzilla's tearing them down. He's using his atomic breath. And they use tanks, and, they use missiles, and they're not working any better. They're not doing good. They're not working, basically. So Godzilla is rampaging through Tokyo. He's trying to get into a sea of fire, as they said in the movie. and he kills so many people. And there's a heartbreaking scene where it's like there's a mom and her children are sitting in a street, and they're like, and the mom's like, "We'll be where Daddy is soon," which is really sad. So then there's a scene with some reporters in a tower, and they're using their flashes, which the flashes are angering Godzilla. And Godzilla takes the tower, he bites it, and he just throws it to the ground. But then Godzilla goes back into Tokyo Bay, and the planes are driving him off. But there's planes that are coming, and they're firing missiles. They're driving him off, but they're doing no effect. The missiles aren't hurting, but they're driving him back to sea. So next scene is the hospital scene, which is a very emotional scene. It almost made me cry. There's people they're dying basically, and there's people that actually have traces of radiation on them because of Godzilla's devastation. Godzilla's destruction of the city. So then Emiko brings Ogata to the side, and she's like, "No, I gotta break my promise. I gotta break my promise from that me and Serizawa made to not talk about this, not talk about the weapon, the what she saw in the lab." It flashes back to Emiko in Serizawa's lab, seeing what happened in that tank. And what happened in that tank is that small little ball that he dropped in, it starts to bubble, and all the fish get turned to bone. They get turned to bone. So Serizawa explains to her that, this destroys all oxygen in water. And a tiny ball that could turn all of Tokyo Bay into an aquatic cemetery. He wanted to keep it a secret because if someone used this for the wrong purpose, it'd be devastating. This weapon would be absolutely horrible. It'd be devastating. He said that if he was forced to do it, if he was forced to use it, he said he would kill himself and that he would destroy his papers before anyone can get a hold of it. So Emiko and Ogata go to Serizawa's house, and they try to persuade him, and Serizawa refuses. He's refusing, and there's a huge fight that breaks out between Ogata and Serizawa, and they get into a big dispute, and Ogata gets hurt. So there's a big argument. They're saying, what will become of us if we don't destroy Godzilla? What will become of us? So he refuses. He still refuses. He says that even if he still burns his papers, he still has it memorized, and he's still going to be forced to make it. So then a song starts to play on the TV, sung by a lot of young girls, and it's very emotional. It almost makes you teary-eyed, and that persuades Serizawa to use it, but he burns his papers. So then they go to the ocean, and Ogata and Dr. Serizawa go down in the ocean. They find Godzilla, but Serizawa sends Ogata up early. So Serizawa stays down there. He places the oxygen destroyer in the water. It starts to activate, and all of a sudden it's working. But Serizawa takes his own life. He cuts the rope connecting to the ship, and he dies. So then all of a sudden we see Godzilla come up to the surface, letting out one final roar, then descending to the bottom of the ocean. And then we see him turn to bones. So Godzilla actually does die in this movie. So like everyone on the ship is both happy and sad. Happy because Godzilla is dead. Godzilla is dead. But a lot of people are sad because Serizawa's gone. The person who made the oxygen destroyer is gone. He's dead. So yeah, that is basically what happens in the movie. But yeah, this movie, guys, it is amazing. I highly recommend that you check it out. If you like, old school films, and especially if you like old school monster films, then you should definitely see this movie. It's a very classic movie. It's where it all started. Like I said, if you're a Godzilla fan and if you have not watched this film, my God, what is wrong with you? This is a masterpiece in the Godzilla universe. It is amazing. It is my favorite Godzilla movie, And I highly recommend it to anyone. I highly recommend it. But yeah, if you like, really good special effects, and if you know, then you probably won't like this, because this was a guy in a rubber suit. This was a guy in a rubber suit, but mind you, the special effects for that time were very good. And mind you, what they were trying to do is they were trying to do the stop motion claymation like they did in the original King Kong movie. But with the time and budget allowed, they couldn't do that. So they made a giant suit for a guy to fit inside, and it wasn't what you would call being inside the suit. It wasn't what you would call pleasant. The heat would get so hot, and the actor would faint a couple of times. It was ridiculous, that suit, but they made it work. And this original Godzilla movie is considered by a lot of people the best Godzilla movie out there, and I agree. In my opinion, it is the best Godzilla movie out there, because not because it's the original, because it's a very serious tone. A lot of black and white movies back then, monster movies, were very, very cheesy. A lot of cheese. But this movie was made 9 years after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So they've seen destruction firsthand. And it's well played out in this movie. It's insane. It's a very, very dark, dark film. But yeah, if you're a Godzilla fan, you need to watch this. This is one of the movies, like, if you're trying to get into Godzilla, this is a must. This is a must watch. So yeah, that concludes this review. The next one is Godzilla Rise Again. Oh boy. But yeah, that concludes this review, guys. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.